This is Mark Sherbrink from the Juniper Network Center of Excellence team. I am going to demonstrate the Sonus virtual SBC running in the Contrail environment. Contrail environment is a integration between OpenStack and the Contrail controller, where a vRouter is running on the compute node within the environment, running a virtual machine that has the Sonus Network's virtual SBC. On the right-hand side, I'll have call generators that will pass calls through. The calls will be routed by the virtual SBC to a receiving tester on the left-hand side. When we start our test, we'll have 2,000 call capacity that we'll try to push through. We're going to see that we'll have about 1,000 calls succeed and 1,000 calls that fail. What we have to do when we have that overload condition is to either add new hardware or increase the capacity of the virtual SBC. And in this case, we're going to do it in the cloud environment. So we're simply going to spin up another instance of the virtual SBC, and all of our calls will be successful. I'm showing here a screen that's the receiver of the calls coming in. We have no calls happening at this point. We had a run going, but we have no calls active at this time. So we have calls of 0. We go to our initiator of the calls. We'll go ahead and start generating calls. The calls will go through, again, the virtual SBC. We'll see that we have calls. They're successful. We'll look at our virtual SBC. We'll look at active calls. We now see that we have active calls that are happening on the virtual SBC. We'll go to the limit of we go to about 700, but I want to increase that past the 700 mark that I have so that I go and try to make the calls fail. And sure enough, I get past that 700 or so, and we have starting to see call failures. What we want to do is we want to stop those call failures by increasing our capacity by adding another virtual SBC. Again, we see we have calls on our first virtual SBC. We're at 900 active calls. We clip it off at 1,000 at overcapacity. So we have a second virtual SBC that's running. We would just simply turn this up, but to do that and enable it, we have to add a DNS entry into the Contrail environment, which is also our DNS server. So simply adding an entry, call it virtual SBC 1, which is the same as the original virtual SBC that is running. Add the new address for the virtual SBC that we want to add into the scale out capability. We'll go back to our SIP tester. We now see that our errors have stopped. We stopped at 604 errors because we increased the capacity to be able to support the new calls coming in. On the first virtual SBC, we see we have about 590 calls. On the second virtual SBC, we see we have about 500 calls to split those 1,000 calls between the two virtual SBCs running in the Contrail environment.